All right, meeting called to order, Parks and Commons Commission, June 3rd. Welcome, everyone. We have Dan Sterling on Zoom. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
All right. We're going to go ahead with our roll call for the audio. Steve.
Adam Alton, Dan Wright,
Meg Simons.
Ron Simons,
George Charoon. John Kriegel.
And
Dan Sterling.
Perfect. All right, and then just our call for preparedness by our commissioners that we've had a chance to take a look at things for today. Yeah. Okay. Our announcements, there's lots of them, but they're already in all the reports and all the different things. So I don't want to go through a list of those, but if anyone else here, commissioners, had anything to add that wasn't.
I'll just announce that I'll be doing a quarterly budget review for the commission at the July meeting. One of the new things that we've added. So
Yeah,
so you guys know it's coming.
thank you. That's great. That's great.
What's the date of the July meeting? Is it?
It's the first.
It's the first. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually 4 weeks from today. Exactly. So, yeah. Hello. Okay, next up then is our public comment. Do we have anybody that wants to make a comment? Okay, and we'll move right along. Our last meeting minutes. We want to approve those. Were there any questions? I didn't have any myself when I read them. Okay. Into our reports then. We'll start off with our Commons report. And thank you for the detail. It's really amazing for the reporting. Yeah. So yeah, Rosa, if you have any highlights. Yeah.
We've had a few maintenance, Aero Cleaning came out to do maintenance tune-up. Pioneer Connection came out just to see if they can improve our connections here at the Commons. Still waiting to hear back from that. A structural sound engineer came out to see if the stage was structurally sound and put up the speakers. And so we're just waiting on an ETA on when that project's gonna start, but that's gonna be starting at some point soon. Let's see here, the Under the Stage project is still continuing. We started our work group for the bathroom project, which we're gonna be going over at some point during this meeting. Let's see here, and then Bobby Nicole from City Council and Christy from YPAP and I started a group to go over the YPAP expansion and the child care infrastructure grants that we're gonna apply for this fall. So those are going. Since we were not able to use the pavilion, Public Works moved the picnic tables out to the back over here between the Commons and the school. It looks quite nice. So now there's a picnic seated area. They've got planted flowers out there in pots. Looks quite nice. So it will at least be able to enjoy those. Let's see here, what else? We did get the part for that broken playground equipment, and the repairs are gonna be coming soon as well. Been working with Pride Committee to well in advance to make sure that their event is gonna run smoothly, but most importantly, to make sure that it's safe. That was one of their biggest hurdles this year, was they felt that safety was a big concern for them. And so we put extra care and time to make sure that they felt like they were safe in our facility. The city has been working with the Lincoln County emergency personnel in FEMA to create emergency shelter in case of natural disaster here at the Commons, the Baptist Church and the Presbyterian Church, so that we can have an actual just use as many buildings as we can and make sure that we have what we need. And then if we don't have everything, what do we need to plan? Let's see here. What else? Neil, Bobby, and I have been looking into future live music merchandise sale fundraisers to help offset the costs for the CIP projects that are going on right now. Most importantly, the Little Rock Church Museum and the library, and then possibly the pavilion, a couple of other ones. And then C Roads is going to be starting the basketball hoops. They were looking at the plans and determined that they're going to have to open up the wall to put some more structural support to hold up the hoops and make sure that they're safe for the public to use. So that's going to be starting. And yeah, I think that's about it for me.
A question,
Yes.
are there security beef ups for the Pride weekend at all?
Yes, they are working with, I should have mentioned, sorry, we've been working with Deputy Abby. Yes,
Okay.
so there's gonna be patrol and monitoring during the weekend. Yes.
We were talking yesterday about the hospital YFAP grant.
Mhm.
And so I just wanted to share with everyone, that's 2 million?
Yes,
Is available.
Sweet.
yes.
Did you find out if there were matching requirements?
I have not had a chance to give her a call just yet, the coordinator that is handling the grant, but so far there is no matching requirements according to the guidelines.
Great.
I mean, interject, was there just a caveat that if the funds wouldn't cover the estimated project, then we would be looked to cover the rest? That was like the matching.
Right, that was the stipulation on the guidelines was that if the 2 million doesn't cover the whole cost, how would we find the additional funds to cover the cost? That's all that they were wanting in the guidelines, but I will be calling just to double check on that, just because it is quite a large grant and we want to make, and a very necessary improvement to the Commons that we really need to take seriously. So I will be calling just to double check. But according to the guidelines there, that was their requirement, would just be, we can't come up with, or if we don't have, if the cost doesn't cover the construction, what would we do to come up with the remaining funding?
What is the status of the pavilion behind here?
Ooh,
I hear different things.
so I don't know if you wanted me to touch on that
We
or,
were gonna talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. yeah, Bobby will have an update.
Okay.
The pavilion. I don't
Okay,
want to step on anybody's toes or
Sure.
cover information twice.
I think the fundraising is a great idea. Thank you guys
Yes.
for doing that.
Absolutely. Especially like once we get the new sound system up and running.
Yeah, some in the audience might remember when one of us productions was here, we used to have those dinners. Once a year, they would have a fundraising dinner and they were wildly popular and
Okay,
probably raised a lot of money. People, local shops would donate goods, there'd be an auction. Just a thought.
yeah, that's a great thought. Any other questions?
Thank you, Rosa. Thank you. All right, next up is our work group reports, trails and yips.
Well,
Bob.
There's something, to get some clarity on. Laura, who's focusing on this, had arranged for someone from the Midcoast Watershed Council to come look into the lifestyle plants. Craig heard about that and was concerned that you guys hadn't authorized her to do that. So that was not my idea of how things work. So I would like to clarify by telling you how I think things work and see if everybody agrees, if that's okay. So I think everybody.
Take it away. Yeah,
Everybody's here that needs to weigh in. Is that okay?
that's absolutely, yeah. Thanks for the backstory and fill us in.
My understanding is that you folks are buying alcohol, who decides what to do to carry it. What the city council has said based on your advice. And then different groups, in this case, Trails Yips, is responsible for maintaining the parks, trails, invasive plants, and native plants. And therefore, we would just arrange for someone to come, take a look, talk about it, and you wouldn't necessarily be involved, except us letting you know what was going on. And if that's not the way things work, I'd like to know what the way they work is.
So that is the way it works, as far as I'm concerned. I think the question is, what was Barb's reason for reaching out? I guess if it had to do with this plant identification project we're in the middle of, I guess that would be.
No, it wasn't that, it was, I think Craig was concerned that we were not going, getting your permission, and that you were not CC'd on Barb's email to the other trail leaders.
I see. As far as I'm concerned, you guys are a work group. Work groups report to the city manager, not to us.
Right, that's what I'm looking at.
That's the way, but what's her reason for reaching out, having to do with the plant signage project?
No, it was about planting south of the library
Okay,
and in the pocket park.
So it was independent of our work on plant ID and noxious weed ordinances, et cetera.
If it were, forest groups, so.
Of course. So no, that's the way I see it as well.
Well, but if they're putting plants in the pocket park, then that sounds to me like it's directly under our jurisdiction. We're the Parks Commission, we're responsible for the parks. So if the plants are gonna go in parks, then it seems to me that we should be in the know on that. So it's not really a trails thing if it's in a park.
This is where the mix-up is.
Yeah, okay.
You're not in charge of the parks, as I see it, it's responsible for developing policy about them. And letting the city council and Bobby know what that policy is, and then they tell us what they would like us to do.
Okay,
And
Which is
that's
kind
not
of
the way it is.
this puts us right in the middle of our defining what our role is.
yep, it's
So this is
very
something,
relevant.
Mhm.
yeah, it's relevant and is my opinion, it's not yet determined. Not that I have a problem with Barbara putting plants in the park.
Right.
But it just seems to me like we need to decide once and for all, who's in charge.
Mhm.
And it's complicated by the fact that you folks put in the soil plants in the fence. So there is a,
Overlap.
it's.
Yeah. Yeah, Bobby.
Oh, I see.
I was just gonna say, this might, like, at the end of the meeting, we're gonna be talking about PCC's role, and I think this conversation maybe should fit in there. Because it's very much. about
Yeah.
that.
To me, it's a settled thing. We discussed it in the past.
No, it's not. The
I didn't say
ordinance.
listen, I said to me.
Okay, to you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So the current ordinance, the revised ordinance that was proposed by the city manager and the mayor, and I have an upgrade to it, definitely states that the PCC oversees projects that affect the parks, open spaces, and commons facilities. So in that case, any development that happened in those spaces would definitely be in our purview.
Yeah, and that may well be the case, but we have discussed this before and had the whole discussion about us taking responsibility. And trails taking responsibility for what goes on in the parks. This discussion has been had before. Correct?
Yeah,
And if you guys want to change it, that's fine, but as far as I know, that's the way it is at this point in time.
you have some input, Dan?
I hope I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that, which Dan are you talking?
I'll get it.
Go
Me?
ahead.
Okay,
Yeah, go.
I think Bob's definition is close, but, and again, this is my perception, is that I felt that as an operational arm, Trails and Yips operates under the city manager's pleasure. We are an advisory body, and so when it comes to parks, that is kind of has been our role. I'm not saying it's going to be, because we have to determine that, and it has to be determined by the city and stuff, but I think there's a lot of logic in having a kind of a community commission being the advisor, because we can receive a lot of information from citizens, and so then it's a matter of if there's needs, if new plants come around or a new issue comes around. I mean, I think it should be discussed probably at the PCC level, but then Bobby ultimately is at the terminer, and then she says, well, I need PCC to put this into operation. I'm sorry, not PCC, Trails to put it into operation, and if they can do it, great. And if not, then she'd have to go to the city, the maintenance department. But I don't find it to be as confusing as it sounds like it is. Because just looking at those two different things, advisory versus operations. And I think to me, that makes it more clear.
Okay, my perception is that Bob's talking about essentially ongoing maintenance, where our role is more of design changes. So deciding to put some plants in, to me, is not a whole lot different than deciding to do some weeding. And you certainly wouldn't come to us and say, can we weed this area? So I think we are an advisory board, and I think our role is if there's a major change. So if somebody says we'd like to put a new path through that park, it comes to us and we talk about it. But if it falls under the heading of general maintenance, I think it's you guys, you don't need us.
Joanne.
Developed the pocket parks. It was your project, it was a development project. But now it's maintenance. The same with the piece behind the library. That was a development project. We all deal with parks. Everything we do is parks. Pocket parks are the piece behind the library. And now it's maintenance. And Barbara's consultations has to do with what works, what doesn't work. That's all. It has to do with, you see the different type of plant species here. We need to maintain the plant we have differently. It's just all about the activities of keeping our parks maintained.
So, we've been working on this, and Dan Sterling has worked extensively on this spreadsheet idea where we're gonna look at the parks, the Parks and Commons Commission. We're gonna look at the parks, we're gonna see what they need, and we're gonna make recommendations to trails. And to me, that comes back to, it starts with us. It should start with us. The parks are under, the property behind the library is not a park. It's just open land. It's not a park. Doesn't have a name, doesn't have a designation as a park. So to me, that's not our purview.
I would view that as an open space.
Yeah.
And I think open spaces sort of are our purview.
Yeah,
Once again, we haven't.
I know.
have been our purview.
But I would ask one question. Was Barb soliciting advice or actual bringing in plants to plant?
From whom?
From Mid-Coast Watershed, right?
Sure.
Yeah, she was soliciting advice.
Yeah.
I think maybe we can simplify this. Soliciting advice shouldn't have to go through us. When she gets the advice of what plants should be planted, maybe that comes back to us just to say, yep, that sounds great, go for it, Trails.
So, Dan, I want to follow up on what you said, because this is going to come down to splitting hairs. So you're
Yeah.
like, if there's a trail, then it's us. It's plants, it's them.
Mhm.
Okay, so what if it's a demonstration garden for Bird City yachts?
That's a design change. That would come here.
Okay,
But the
so-
big difference, for me, I'm drawing the big difference between the design change and regular maintenance. So if Trails has done some weeding and they go, we got a dozen plants that are appropriate plants we want to stick in there, I don't see where that has to come to us. If they want to come, if they say, we'd like to clear cut this section and change the whole design and change all the plants or something big, then yeah, it comes to us. But it seems like we're trying to decide between management and micromanagement to me. I
So,
mean, if it's a park, they don't have to come and ask us to weed, correct? So how many plants can they plant without us, without our oversight?
Extraction, planting is addition. So there's a pretty significant difference there.
yeah,
Well, I agree, but like I said, it's also up to a point, I see it as maintenance as opposed to a design change. And I think our role has to do with design, layout, how the space is used, and the overall picture. So, I mean, if they've got 3 plants, do they have to come to us and say, can we put these 3 plants in? Now, if it's 30, maybe we have some, threshold there, but I think they need a little flexibility.
So to move this along, what I'd like to do is I want to hear from John. He's had his hand up. And then I want to hear any last comments from Bob. And then I'd like to hear your input, Bobby. So let's go in that
I
order.
guess my only question is, why isn't that considered part of the community park that flows into it? Is it not the boardwalk? You're talking about the area,
Mhm.
the wheat area, right?
Was.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that all kind of like an entrance to the community park?
The section behind the
I
library?
mean, is it that, why are we having to designate it as separate? It's just part of the same.
It could be.
It's been maintained.
It's sensible that
Yeah.
Adam made the point that it's community space, which is under our purview.
But it-
Like, well,
Right.
how much purview do we give on these things?
Way.
Wrong. Seems extremely.
inefficient.
I'm
Yeah.
just confused about the idea that we're gonna, as a commission, we're each gonna take a park and we're gonna walk it and we're gonna come to you and say, Pocket Park North needs weeding. The boardwalk, wetlands boardwalk needs moss removal. I thought that's what we were working towards. Were we gonna be an advisory board
Right.
to trails for what maintenance needs to be done? And then you guys would go ahead and do that.
You remember your discussion, you were going to do this individual.
Yeah, that was, and just lastly, as I went through the parks maintenance report that's on our reports, there has been no information put into that report. So I would say that needs to be revisited because it's as is not working. It's not being
We haven't
used.
done it, we haven't acted on it.
So maybe to Bob's point, if there's been confusion on citizen input versus PCC member input, so I think, yeah, let's flow this more into the conversation as Gio put it later in the meeting, and then I'd like to hear Bobby's input now.
I resonate a lot with what Dan said on the matter, that I really think that some kind of basic maintenance stuff fall within my relationship and relationship within the city, regular maintenance that's adding or extracting minimally to keep the space thriving, roundly as is maintenance, that's gonna be between us, and then if it's going to be something a larger scope change, then maybe it starts with parks taking a look at that maintenance sheet that's going to be ongoing maintenance sheet on this document, the agenda document. They can go on and say, oh, Meg's in charge of Peace Park and we notice we want to do this there. So maybe they start the conversation with Meg because she's the PCC person that is overseeing Peace Park. And then if it needs to evolve into a larger Parks and Commons Commission meeting, because it's a bigger project, then it would come to you and Trails would bring it to the Parks and Commons for a larger discussion. That's kind of how I would see it evolving. So in this case, I would say they would just need to work with me if they're gonna wanna buy extra plants. And then in the case, if maybe I could see if maybe Craig heard wind of connecting with Midcoast, maybe he was thinking that it was on behalf of your guys' project. And in that sense, that should be through you guys because it's a specific project that was recommended that Midcoast be consulted with. So I can see that in that case, definitely needing to come to.
Yeah, the context
Yeah.
really matters. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. All right, reports. Anything else in the Trails report, Bob? Any questions by the commissioners in the Trails Yips report?
I didn't see the trails report in packet, did I?
But it's in,
It's the work group.
Oh, okay.
It's the very first one, work group of projects.
I probably saw it then and had no questions.
Yeah, probably so. Okay. Okay, next report then is our Keeping Yachats Beautiful report. Are there any questions as we read through that? Nope. Okay, nice work. Yeah. Nice work. Estuary Boardwalk Walkway Project. Any questions on?
I don't believe I saw that.
Yes. Actually, today, Bobby joined to receive $10,000.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Hey,
great. Yeah,
All stuff ourselves.
yeah, very nice. Congratulations.
For
Yeah,
the presentation, they said there was over 300 applicants that be reviewed and New Future and the city and their partnership we're blessed to be able to have received 10,000 of those funds.
that's
Big deal.
very nice, very nice.
And then also you and Bob gonna be being interviewed by the local government grant review committee at the end.
we're gonna make a presentation to them the last MVP lot. We're gonna get together and develop that on the days you said that, I forgot.
I think it was June 17th.
One thing.
After you get back from your fancy trip.
Okay,
I think that they look favorably on the fact that the tribes. The project favoring up one of the grant. The outside in favor with. The value of the application.
nice. Yeah,
They were impressed that we brought the city manager with us.
yeah, I bet. Okay,
Proud to go.
yeah,
That's
well,
why.
that's wonderful. You good?
That's okay.
Okay.
For the landmark project, there has really been no progress on that at this point. There's so many things happening with the city that's been on pause. However, we have received the proper application that we need to fill out to submit the plans, the first version of the plans that we have to ODOT to hear their feedback on. So we have the proper channels to follow now with ODOT and the original set of plans.
Okay, great. Okay, and then the Commons under stage storage project,
Little bit of progress. The doors are now on ease.
Mm-hmm.
Was the main concern, safety concern, I should say.
Okay.
So, yeah, project continues. That part's checked off.
nice. And then we also, it's not listed here, but Bobby, you want to give a little update on our bathrooms at this point, our new ADA bathrooms and the North Commons remodel. And beef, as you're getting set up, did I mention we're not going to be doing agenda item 2 today?
You did not.
Okay, I forgot to do that. We're not doing agenda item 2 today. The Sharon Design Group would rather come and present their final ideas in July. It's just better timing.
Okay.
So that frees up some time. Just forgot about that. So, okay.
Yeah, I do have a little sneak peek though that I received this morning from them that I'll bring into this conversation with the bathroom. So,
Okay.
excuse my voice, I'm on the tail end of a cold here, so I'm pushing through. Okay, so as we know, we've had the conversation of the ADA bathrooms kind of ongoing now since I think I first brought the idea and concept to the group in either September or October of last year, when we found that there was a grant available that fit the criteria and guidelines, so that we would be applying for that. And we had some initial concepts for the idea. And it would be creating bathrooms over on the north end of the commons, where there would create a bathroom space for the green room there and room 8 activities throughout the year. And it would also be a secondary bathroom there that would have direct access to the hallway for folks that are enjoying shows, pickleball, basketball, whatever they're doing in the MP room. It's a little closer, it kind of brings folks using the facilities away from this YFAP side of the building and creates access over there. Also, our current bathrooms are not ADA accessible. They do not have the space for somebody using a power wheelchair. Maybe a small compact user could get in there, but not a large power chair. And so there's a population of folks that we aren't serving in this community space for community events, gala fundraisers, anything that they might want to come to do to support activities or be engaged in the community. Accessibility is on the forefront of tourism and activities right now. The chamber did a wheel the world audit of accessible locations in the city of Yachats in partnership with Travel Oregon. And what they did with that was they went to all of the different locations, restaurants and hotels and trails, and did an audit on the level of accessibility, because everybody who experiences disability experiences a different level of disability. So what is accessible for one might not be for another, or vice versa. So this Wheel the World is a travel planning platform for people with disabilities. And those folks can go in and enter their specifications of what they need, and it kind of brings up the right locations for them. That is also on the chamber's website, yachats.org is that audit. The Oregon Coast Visitors Association just did a film series where they did tourism promotion videos that highlighted accessibility and accessible activities that can be achieved on the Oregon coast. So it's really, it's on the forefront of what is important to people in the tourism industry. And this place, while it is huge for community, it is also huge for a draw for tourism in Yachats. The shows that get put on here, those are a draw for tourism. And they're a draw from visitors. That's what makes them uniquely beautiful. So that's kind of where all of this stemmed from. And also at the same time, we were getting ready to launch the Sharing Designs master plan. So in the sake of not going 2 steps forward and 1 step back, we just said we've applied, we've got the concept, we've got the budget, we've got the grant, and we're going to hold and see what this brings. And now we're coming to the end of that time with Sharing Design. We're shortly going to see the final concepts that they've put together and be adopted by City Council after the Parks and Commons sees it in July. And so being that we're kind of in the final steps with that, and we're going to be approaching a year from that grant being granted, we need to start getting that going. So we've, in the heart of work groups, we have created a work group for this project. Gio, Rosa, Dan, myself, and Stephen Farish, Polly Plum met yesterday, and I believe you guys had already met once before even to talk about it. And what we're looking at is the original concepts that were brought in. We're looking at the Sharing Design concepts, and we're looking at some other concepts that, in combination of Gio's mind and thinking of that space and being how to utilize the space most efficiently, along with comments from all of the work group members, kind of looking at varying different designs and what works, what doesn't work, why it doesn't work, why it would work, and come to the conclusion that there's a lot of things that could happen. There's a lot of really good ideas. I have, and I can share my screen, and I think that you guys all have them in your packets as well as some concepts. What I'm going to start off with is the first concept that was used for the grant application.
Is that the RR plan?
Should be it.
And
The original one. No, Neil, what's the password for the Wi-Fi?
it's
events, 2023 with capital E.
Which network?
Events.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
No worries. They just kind of match each other, that's why they go the password in.
Events.
Event, singular or plural?
Plural for the password, events 2023.
Okay, go ahead.
And Bobby, when did this plan originate? How old is this plan?
Over.
October
Yeah.
of last year, okay.
So this bathroom here shows two bathrooms going into the ADA, or excuse me, into room 7. Which right now is largely used as storage and Rose's office. It's a large space, it's underutilized. These two restrooms, they do, or wash closets as they're labeled, they do go into that space of room 7. There's this little jog here because that's where the window starts, so they're not going in front of the windows per se. And they are ADA sizing. And the one right here is doesn't show it in this design, but it is designed to have the door going into the hallway so that folks don't have to go into room 8 to access it, but could access it right here in the hallway. I don't know if you can see my cursor right there. So this one would have access from the hallway, and then this one would have access here from room 8 exclusively. And this was designed with the mind that it would be the most really just the kind of the easiest to do, the most non-invasive, no walls have to come down, there would be framing that has to go up, piping, venting, and installation for extension of plumbing that would take place. And there would be cabinets and sinks still on the opposite side of that wall in room 8. Similar to how it is now, but a little bit different. So that's the kind of first glance pre Sharon Design Studios, and most really just easiest kind of way to go forward. So next, I'm going to bring up plans that we have, through our work group process, have identified as phase 1, 2, and 3. And the reasoning for this is because it goes to be quite a large project when you look at kind of really what can be fully redone with that space. And the way that the city has to do their jobs is anything above $50,000 has to be bidded out through an RFP process through Oregon Buys. It's a really thorough and intensive process. And it includes bid openings with all of the contractors on site and gets into prevailing wages as well. So it gets to be quite a large and extensive project. Also, this year we're in the process of passing our budget right now. And what we have allocated is $25,000 for the restroom project. We have the amount that was granted to us, which I think was 10,000. And then we have the stairway project for $45,000. And that's what we have in the docket for big projects that fall under Parks and Commons for this budget cycle. So we're looking at this as as the work group as things that could happen in the phase 1, 2, and 3 to kind of keep it within the budget and within the bidding scope. So here I'm going to pull up and share the screen for phase 1.
So just a question while you're getting ready with this. So we're gonna do some of this work and then we're gonna wait until the next budget cycle to do more of it?
Potentially, depends on which way we go. If we go for a big reorganizing of the whole space, it's absolutely going to have to get phased out.
So you're not gonna do this before that decision is made?
So what?
You're not gonna start working on the bathroom addition before a decision is made about the bigger picture?
Can we hold your question until we get through phase three? I think it's important that you see the whole.
All right, yeah, makes sense. Okay.
Okay.
I think it's important too, just to mention that since phase one was drawn, we found that the grant requires that we build 2 wash closets.
Do you want to talk about this, why I have it pulled up?
Sure,
Okay.
I objected to the original bathroom design. Number one thing that hit me was that little chink in the wall in front of the window just really drove me crazy. And the other reason was that I've always felt that the hallway is underutilized in this building. It's dark, it's ugly, and it serves 2 purposes currently. One, access to room 8. Number 2, it's got a coat rack in it.
Yeah.
It is 180 square feet of nothingness as far as I'm concerned. So I was feeling that maybe if we built the 2 bathrooms the way they were shown in the previous drawing, it's gonna lock us into the location of that hallway forever. And so I really was panicking a little bit about that and decided that maybe there's another way to do this. So I drew up several concepts actually that we all talked about. And through that conversation, we decided that maybe a phased project would work best. So there was phase 1, 2, and 3, and you'll see how that develops. But since this was drawn, we discovered that we have to build 2 at this phase. So take it
Phase
away,
1
Bob.
is kind of out then,
In a way,
because you gotta have 2 bathrooms, so that means phase 2.
in a way. So take it away, Bob. Okay.
Just making sure I understand.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, so phase 2, or say, so phase 1 here, as Gio was discussing, just had the one wash closet that we were thinking through when we ended our conversation yesterday, we were thinking, well, we all agree we want that one there. And the rest can kind of bloom since we're gonna phase it out. But since then, we have our grant stipulations say that we need to have 2, and that needs to be done by the end of this year. So that is something that does need to be done sooner than later. So I'm gonna take us to version 2 now. Going on a journey here.
Well, I'll interject while we're in this little pause. It's after we go through all the phases, I'd like to come back to phase 1 because I have a quick concept of adding that second bathroom that has not been measured out or anything, but it might give us where we want to go and preserve what you want to do.
Cool.
Okay, now here we are with phase 2, George, take it away.
Okay, so this utilizes the hallway, obviously for new purposes. Create a new opening so that there's storage for the multi-purpose room. And as currently drawn, there's still a door to room 8, so it could serve storage purposes there. If you look at room 8, Dan came up with this idea to have a new opening between room 8 and the multi-purpose room. And by opening, we mean big, like 8x8 doors, 8x10 doors, something you could swing open. So during events like art guild shows and things like that, vendor space could just flow from multi-purpose room into room 8 and utilize it that way. And then the second water closet or wash closet you can see has been tucked in. They are next to the storage. And we also opened up doors between room 7 and room 8, which maybe doesn't make sense in this drawing, but it makes sense in the next one.
Okay, so I will take us to the next step in our journey to phase 3.
So in phase 3, there is no room 6 and there's no room 7. Am I
That's
reading
it.
that right?
That's right.
Not as separate rooms.
So we blow up room 6 and 7. Currently 6 is used as an office and some storage, and 7 is used as an office and some storage. So we have taken care of some of the storage needs, not all of them maybe, but some of them for that storage room. And we've taken care of the office needs by tucking in an office, and we've created a vestibule an entry vestibule. I will remind everyone that there are, God, the windows on that north wall are huge. They're probably 10 feet tall
Yeah.
and 4 feet wide, and there's 7 of them on that wall. So imagine walking into this building and looking to your right and seeing that amazing north-facing wall, flooding the space with light. That's what I want to see rather than that narrow little hallway.
Yeah.
Tight spaces that we currently have.
And the coat rack would be.
It would be
Reposition.
code rack.
So, didn't put the code rack in there.
It could be in the vestibule.
Phase 4.
Or 5 or 6, you know?
Phase 4.
And I want to point out, you see, in the last master plan version, there was a vestibule added to this building, in that area just below this area
Right.
where we planned on just a cover at that northeast entrance.
Oh.
They actually planned a whole new space. And we could eliminate perhaps that and go back to just the covered ramp and move the vestibule to the inside. So that's how this ended up being a 3-phase, because we figured if we could just build 1 bathroom, we could kind of percolate on this stuff a little bit. But now we're, I guess.
So
But
that's-
if our phase 1 would become phase 2.
What is that?
So this is this is something, it was presented at the May 14th community.
Meg and I were
meeting. You guys were gone. But this is actually even a step further. This was sent to me this morning, so not even our advisory group has seen this yet,
Wow.
but it's pertinent to this conversation.
Sure.
So I wanted to bring it up. So, this side of the room is also something that Sharon Design has taken into consideration as well. And what they have done is they still have the 2 restrooms there, one being single used to the room 8, and then one being accessible to the hallway in the community space. So it retains the hallway there. It adds storage. It has 2 offices still, and it adds on a vestibule area. So here we're more looking at adding walls. We're not looking at taking any walls down.
Well, between the MP room and the kitchen, which is now moved.
Well, we're not talking that. We're talking straight this north end right here. We're only looking at the bathroom
Okay.
section, the
Okay.
north end section. We're not going into that. You're really talking about this phase of
Understood.
the area. So you can see a little bit of a box kind of around the area, and they've identified that section, adding the outdoor restroom and the meeting room, green room, the restrooms, the storage and the office change all in kind of that phase, what they would consider as one of the phase 1 projects, because it does include these ADA restrooms, which we do have funding for, that needs to be used by the end of the year. So that's kind of where this all boils down to. But this is different from some of the plans that the work group has been percolating on. I think all of these plans need to be looked at and considered. And I also think it is important to hear the voice that's not in the room. And I'm gonna speak up for that voice right now. It's maybe not my exact opinion, but there are things that have been shared to me. Both in our work group meeting yesterday and then with a follow-up email. Stephen Farish, who's part of Poly Plum, who's part of this work group with us. He's very excited about the whole project, but there's things that he doesn't necessarily agree with. And I don't think that his points aren't valid, but I don't know if they're like would make us not do the projects of any sort. But I want to share what those were. And so for the first original bathroom plan in being framed in room 8, his comments were on that were that the ceiling roof is tiled and we could frame in the restrooms there, and we could easily vent out to the side from there, that restrooms require venting, and that it could be easily done right there. And that the plumbing, he has been underneath the building with a plumber, and that the plumbing Oh, that would be kind of stretching it from what their visual of the plumbing was, even to where we're looking at the installation of the two original design of restrooms. So taking it down into the hallway would be even a further stretch. I think anything's possible.
It is.
But it would just cost more money, you know, it's just dollars and cents really when it comes down to those type of things. I think anything's possible. Adding a bathroom in the hallway further down as proposed in one of those designs would require us to go higher up through the ceiling. We'd have to go through the ceiling for the venting requirement, and that
So,
also possible, maybe more money, maybe opening a whole can of worms when we open up a roof. So, you know, so those are his real life contractor thoughts and experience with the building thoughts on this project. Also from his perspective of events and doing events, he and this could, you know, whether we have two vestibule entrances or not, it would be the event producer's choice of where to guide people to come through, but they really want to keep traffic coming in through this main entrance when it's for shows so that people can be checking in and the talking can be happening away from where the shows are taking place. So that would be an event producer call is, I mean, we can't have two great grand entries. And another one was that they really use the hallway as it is, where we might think that it's an unused use of space. If he feels that it is greatly used and has purpose for shows and activities and usage of room 8 and the stage. So those are points from the voice that's not in the room, but all valid and should be considered.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Mhm.
On this drawing that you have up here,
Mhm.
there's a black dotted line.
Yes,
What is that signifying?
adding on.
So the building would actually be made larger,
Mhm.
but there's nothing shown in that space, nothing built in that space.
No?
Vestibule, so it's kind of an
Oh, that.
space.
I'm talking about all of this space here.
That's the school thing.
What is all of that space?
That we're not talking about right
We're
now.
not talking.
In the same area you're in.
He's talking about the phase.
I am, so Bobby, right here, there's a black dotted line.
Oh, yeah, so that's what I was talking about is phase 1. See how it says right there,
Yes.
phase 1? So they're looking at that whole section as being the phase 1.
Part of the
Part of
building,
the-
are you saying?
No, just.
So meaning.
Okay, all right, I got it. Yeah, I get it.
No, so that's like anything in that little dotted line there, that is like
It's all part of it.
phase one of the first projects of the project.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, I got a question too. Am I seeing this right? As a restroom block access to room 8 from the hallway?
Mm-hmm. True.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So now it's.
So how do you get to room 8?
Only through that empty room.
Yeah.
So now it can have a coat rack.
good. I have a quick question, Bobby. We have to spend the money or excuse me, complete the construction by the end of this year for the grant, or at least start it?
Final report in December.
Mhm.
So it doesn't have to be completed. The work doesn't have to be.
Yeah, we're gonna write the report, the final report.
I saw that's
Rock and
sounds
roll.
very aggressive, knowing what we have to go through for bids and whatnot.
Well, the project is under $50,000. And if we do it,
Yeah,
just the rest of the
No.
original project is
Okay.
bid at $33,000.
okay. I mean, I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Okay. History makes me dubious.
Yeah, I'll jump
Okay.
in.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you. Indeed.
$33,000 is what we're projecting for the
Okay,
original project. That the bid, how we do bids on them is we have to under $50,000 is we just have to reach out to 3 companies.
okay,
It could be your company, your company, and your company. And you could say, no, yes, this much, and this is my time frame. We're like, well, this one works best for us. It might be more expensive, but the time frame is shorter. So we can take whatever we want out of
Okay.
that. So that's kind of also reasoning to phase things out too, so as we can keep it under that 50,000 mark.
so we have to do something this year, even if it's not what we want.
We're going to do something this year. And.
You're that determination.
There's money out there.
Yeah.
Do something this year. We're going to do something this year. And this conversation is to hear everybody's voices. And ultimately, as the advisory board, I'd love to hear advice on how to move forward. And then we will kind of take it down to brass tacks and then make a decision at the city level on how to forward.
Danny, do you want to propose your?
Yeah, since we're on a time frame here, I would like to, and like I said, I actually just came up here with this sitting here, so you may go, Dan, you left the door out or something. Can you bring the phase 1 back up, please, Bobby?
What? No. I have to like stop sharing, bring it up, share it again. Thank you, May. That was very.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay. No, not that one. Phase 1 is what I need.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. Forget that. That's old news.
Then phase 1, we're not doing anyway, right? Because it only has.
He has an idea on top of phases.
I'm full of ideas.
Oh.
You know, squeak us through this thing.
Why we're here.
Thank you for your,
Ideas.
Love it.
Okay.
Catherine,
Okay,
thank you for
thank
your
you.
patience. Thank you.
All right, I'm trying to show it on here for everybody. Okay. Right now, we've got we got a big room here. We got 23. What happens if we take this 5x8, because they're both 5x8s, correct?
5x8 and 8x8.
And an 8x8, yeah.
We have to add the ADA now?
They're both ADA,
Okay.
even at 5x8.
Okay, if we can wait on the 8x8 until we can block the hall, one suggestion would be to add a second 5x8 here. We may be able to do 8x8 too, I have to do some measurement. Add another one here and have a door into the hallway. So you preserve your hallway through phase 1, you'd have a green room entrance into this water closet, and you'd have a hallway entrance into this one.
Okay.
That would take this, right, this would take it at 28 feet. This would take it down to 23 feet. Adding another 5-foot water closet would take it down to 18 feet. Is my math right?
Yep.
Which would leave an 18-foot room here for future stuff that would preserve our hallway around here. We could also, if when we get to phase 3 and we're putting offices here, we have the option, I think, of taking I've taken the office line here, couple 3 feet into this room, into the entry vestibule. Because we've got 15 feet right here on phase 3. It's not gonna kill anything, I think we took it down to 13 or 12. But that would give us 2 water closets, open hallway, reserve the option.
That's exactly what I was looking at this morning too. Yeah. What about
The phase 2 of this could actually run this direction instead. When we go,
Mhm.
if we block up the hallway and open it up for storage. Do you see what I mean? Like, put the bathroom where you just said, and then below that is the office, but the office is running this way instead of this way.
Wouldn't that interfere with your windows and such?
No, it would end it. this way.
Yeah, get up here.
Just a quick variation, you're debating. If we added another bathroom here like this,
Mhm.
then later the office can take this.
Oh, the office
This
could,
direction.
that's,
Preserve a larger space here.
that would certainly work. So, well, wait a second now, if the office is run that way, the only thing wrong with that per se is it would be hard to have. You wouldn't be able to break the office into 2 separate offices. And I don't know if that means anything to Rosa or
I
not.
don't think it needs to be a full wall. I think it just needs to be partitioned like what we have in City Hall would be fine.
Running this,
How would you get to the second bathroom if the office was that way?
Door would have to be.
So you'd have to go through into that hallway that doesn't exist now. Okay,
into which bathroom now?
the second.
Oh, this-
Having a door here complicates the deal.
Well, it does, but it's,
Door would have to be over.
Excuse me.
but that doesn't give public access or anything to it. Unless you just left that open for people.
but it walks us into the solid. Access to the bathroom here, illuminates future storage ideas.
So I think we're getting into work group conversation right
We
now.
probably are. Yeah, that's one thought for.
Okay, but I think that's a valid.
Reel
thought.
it in.
I was thinking about this morning also.
Uh-huh.
So I think we need to schedule another work session, but I think for the greater good of the conversation, it's just important for Parks and Common to know that we're working hard on it, and we will come back with a future thing, but I hope to be going out to bids for this in July. So I'd like for us to have a final suggestion to you to give to me that I might take or might not take.
I gotta go back.
Okay, and any
And so
other,
I can start bidding in July.
yeah,
That doorway into the hall. Okay. Actually, if we're going off Stephen's original, I want 2 bathroom things. If you put the second water closet here with a doorway into the hall, when we get to phase 3, we could put a wall there. And they could access, there could be like a little vestibule here, a short hallway or something to access it that way is another option.
Yeah.
Through the door, and that would clear the circuit box. So the bathroom would not start until you were past the
I
circuit
think we're
box.
making really good progress with our work group. I feel really good. I feel really good about it. And I think that we're working well together and I like the ideas. I feel like really good momentum happening. And so I'm excited to see what we conclude on and bring back to Parks and Commons in July.
So do
great.
you want to go out to bid before our next meeting?
After your next meeting, because it's the beginning of July. So I would like that to be the order is that we meet a few times, maybe again, at least once more.
Yeah.
And we'll see where we get.
Yeah.
And I'd like for us to have our concluded on idea to bring to Parks and Commons. With Parks and Commons, then we'll go out to bid. That's usually the first week. It's the first week in July, so we can go for it after that.
Okay, so that'll be on our July agenda. Is
Mhm.
this
July
final?
1.
Yeah,
Did you want to talk about the budget options that you mentioned previously?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so. Excuse me. As we've seen, phase 1, we need to get the 2 bathrooms in one way or another. That's budgeted for and allotted for. As we get further into looking at a phase 2 or phase 3, it gets a little more extensive and inevitably will cost more money. What we have budgeted for large projects this year for Parks and Commons Commission is this bathroom project and the stairs out here. I've been thinking about the stairs a lot, and while we do have them engineered, we have them, had the architect, Parks and Commons has looked at them, essentially they're ready to go. But they almost feel like a cart before the horse kind of project when we have all of these things within the commons to be working on. That essentially we could use those funds that are allocated for that project and reallocate them towards furthering this North Commons vestibule remodel, the outdoor, getting the engineering for the outdoor bathroom that's identified as one of the priority projects. We can put, not that project has to go away, but it can keep postponing and we could allocate those dollars to further along these projects a little faster, which are a little bit, to me, it's like, those are stairs that are leading 3 parking spots down when most of the traffic seems to be coming from the sides. And I think it's a nice thing. I think it will be utilized, but then we're bringing people into this unfinished space when we all have this idea of finishing the space. I think we should finish the space before we're bringing people directly into the space. So I think that's something that we should be looking at, is maybe shifting gears on, instead of pushing that stairs project forward, maybe pushing this phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of this north project and engineering of public restrooms exterior first.
Mhm.
I would agree.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that.
I'm
Makes
shocked
sense.
that it would cost $45,000. It's just
Yeah.
mind-boggling.
And honestly, I'm still not clear about how doing this north section project ties in with the master plan. I still feel like it feels to me like we're starting on this section that doesn't take into account what we might do in the bigger picture. So are we gonna end up, ripping some of that out because we decide we're gonna extend the building to the north? Or, is this a final? And is it on Sharon Design's plan to do exactly what we're talking about, phase 2 and phase 3? Or do you see my question?
I do, the plan that I brought up earlier from the Sharon Design, that's going to be the final plan that they do all of the suggested phasing out of. And cost analysis as well, that will be coming to the meeting next week, or next month, excuse me. What is being proposed is a little different than what they have proposed, but it is still in the phase 1 of the project, getting those 88 bathrooms in place. Phase 1 is also getting the exterior bathrooms in place.
So what are the chances that some of this will then have to be torn out because we decide we're doing something?
Fits into the, it fits into it, Bobby.
It's what?
It fits into the plan.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, well, I'm just saying, that's not clear to me right now.
Yeah, I get the impression some of it might have to change. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So their plan is conceptual. It is not engineered, it's
Right,
not been
right.
out, it's not architect. Their conceptual plans are saying we need to do some rearranging in this north end of it. This is some ideas that we have. We need to get these 2 bathrooms in here. We need to get these 2 office spaces in here. We need to add a vestibule on here. We need to add a public restroom out here. This is what they identify as our phase 1 project team. This is taking it to the next level and looking a little closer at how we would exactly redesign that.
Okay, within the parameters that
Yeah.
they're giving us. Okay,
And we have,
Commented, so far in the master plan, we haven't moved the building.
right, yeah, I realize that, but I'm just saying, what are the chances of that may happen? In which case, all this $40,000 or whatever we spend on this goes out the window.
And I will say,
Trying to avoid.
yeah, I was, it's the same, like, I'm like, 100% trying to not go 2 steps forward and 1 step back on any of these things. I do not want to waste any money in an unnecessary way. So that will be that's why we've held off on this, because we want to make sure that it's in line with what Sharon Designs is putting forward. And I would absolutely say this is in line with what Sharon Design is putting, it's just going fine detail.
I got it.
There's their big picture.
Yep. Thanks.
Would you agree?
I was just gonna say, speaking for the work, we are working real hard to take the big picture, take the long picture, and make sure we don't have to rip anything out. So, for example, going to Stephen's original plan, George said, well, if we commit to this, we've screwed everything else we've talked about doing, and we're locked into this just from the placement of those bathrooms. So right now, we're trying to get the bathrooms in because that's time sensitive, and we're trying to do it in a way, thinking to the future where they won't be in the way, where they will work with phase 3. And as you said, Sharon Design's concept is still a concept plan. And we want to do all of this planning and thinking ahead before they sit down and actually engineer it out and say, here's our final thing. So I'm all for us having more meetings about this. And I'm just trying to reassure Ron that, man, we're thinking for the future as best we can.
Thanks for all the great work you're all doing on this,
yeah,
really.
you had some really good ideas in this,
Thorough and very,
George, especially.
say, thinking big picture, thinking ahead, and that's needed. That's needed.
I have more to talk about the pavilion, but I think we should let Catherine.
I think we should. She's been
Skip to me later.
patient. Yes, Catherine, thank you.
it's fine.
Thank you. So, yeah, we then we'll come back and see where we can land with the rest of that conversation. But moving on then with Catherine is here today. We had discussed this last month about the idea of a bird city designation for Yachats. And I guess, do we have any questions, anyone in the group, or any concerns about approving this idea for the group?
I have a question. So it sounds like there's like a committee that gets formed. for this? And is the committee the one that puts out the annual?
Yeah,
Would be our,
no. And I'm not an expert on all of this, and Jim thought he was gonna be available, but he's in
Okay.
Colorado and something came up, so I will speak the best I can to anybody.
that's all. Thank you. That was it.
In regards to any like enforcement of like lighting situation, who gonna be doing that?
It's not enforcement, it's taking the initiatives that Yahats has already undertaken, and saying that these, like, we already have a lighting ordinance that was done in 2022, I think. And we already have a trails committee, and we already have invasive weed information, and so it would be that they might have ideas that they generate as being very beneficial to the bird communities. But there's nothing that's
There's no
our
legal-
group or anybody else, like you guys would have to enforce.
There's no like light policeman or.
No.
No, but it's what is already in our ordinances that would be taken care of as they are now.
Yeah, I mean, the code enforcer already enforces lighting issues, and that is happening today.
Yeah, I saw that in the report. There
Yeah.
was some things attended to on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dan?
And the bird group, since I don't have the name right in front of me, this, I got it now, is a public awareness education group more than anything else. And similar to a dark sky initiative, for example, any lighting things would be educational and perhaps if the budget comes up, some assistance from it. Okay, because I have talked to people before about how would you work a dark sky or a night sky initiative here? And number one, you can enforce it. But you might be able to, for example, if you could get a small grant or two, you could actually approach homeowners and say, why do you have the security light? Oh, I want security. And well, if we get rid of security light and give you 3 motion sensor lights on your house, would you be happy? Things like that. And it would all be voluntary. You can't enforce that thing.
So as it said, Jim had written on page 3, that other than the yearly application fee, with the program update, there are no other obligations to the city or the chamber or Parks and Commons or, and the initial $100, however that would get paid, but, with having applied, getting recognized by this Bird City, Oregon, we then get $1,000 back to help initiate our educational efforts.
So essentially, what I'm hearing is the committee formed for Bird City. We would just want to really understand the workings of that. And is that an independent group or is that related to the city? So just.
Well, I think it was an independent group.
Yeah.
But if Parks and Commons, I think this is what Jim was suggesting last meeting, was if Parks and Commons and if Bobby and others want this group to report back, like once we do our annual report or whatever, for you to hear what it is, we'd be happy to do that. But other than that, and there is a request to at least have one person from this group maybe join our little committee, which has only met once so far, but we had somebody from the future. I went, Jim was there, and somebody else was there. It was Hugh the Future and
Chamber,
sorry.
Nicole.
Thank
yeah.
you, that was very important.
Okay.
I mean, would this end up being a work group?
Come on, Bobby, one more.
It's like one.
Just, you don't have to answer now. Just wondering if
That
that,
was my question and concern. I didn't know how this would evolve into the city, as I know the committee was mentioned in the meeting last month, and is that, my thought was, question was, is this a chamber committee? Is it a city committee? So work group. What does the work group committee do, you know, and how does it interfold into the, you know, what is the vision of this group, I guess?
Well, I
Like,
think
what's-
it's really a vision of bringing together so many of those aspects. Bringing together the chamber, bringing together Swifty, bringing together Parks and Trails. And bringing together View the Future and bringing us all together for that one kind of mission. Of allowing us to be known for our conservation efforts and our bird-friendly efforts, and to have another avenue, tourist-wise, of bringing people in.
Rather than have some other type of entity other than a work group, it seems to me we might as well, we've got now roughly the framework for work groups. Let's just make it another work group instead of something else. That's my thought.
I mean, does it need to be a work group or does it just be a community? I don't know. That's up to you.
the chamber have this kind of thing, of work groups or committees?
It's a good question.
I don't know if they do. I know that in Newport we did. We had like a beautification committee, we had a tourism committee, we had a seafood wine committee, you know, we had committees for different areas similar to commissions per se and work groups. It seems to me like that not only is it good for, you know, making sure that all these things are happening and being kind of a connector place for all of these different efforts that are happening, but it does seem like a really good tourism promotion thing as well, where I feel like the connection to the chamber is really important, and that work that the chamber is doing on behalf of the city is really important. So I think, yeah, I mean, between the chamber and the city, it does seem kind of like a work group-esque. It would be easier if it's the city, if the chamber, it was the chamber's work group. I'm not opposed to having. I see Rosa raising this.
I just wanted to add that, when I was in college, we actually came to the coast at the crack of dawn for the birds that are out here. So I do know like the University of Oregon and Lane Community College, and I'm blanking on the one that's in Corvallis, but I do know that they have, like, the kids come out here all the time for part of their grade and their classes, and that is a big thing for the whole state of Oregon, is coming out to the coast to see the birds.
So for the benefit of, I'm sorry, were you raising your hand?
I was just gonna say in support of Rosa, you know, I'm originally from the Hillsborough area, and Hillsborough and Gaston, which is a neighboring city, have both re-engineered wetlands for basically tourist attractions, and they're working very well for them.
Yeah, to those points, is why I almost think it would fit under the auspice of the chamber and work that the chamber does on behalf of the city, because I really see it being, it's a great thing for the city, absolutely, but I see it really being a benefit to the tourism draw and the work that they're doing already for tourism and wrapping it into that, because similar to what you're saying and you two are saying, probably 3 or 4 years ago, I was at a tourism conference, and there was a whole section on the high dollar value of bird tourism and all the things you can do to attract birders. And it's a thing. It's a big thing.
Even yesterday, I was walking on Ocean View and somebody stopped me. She had a southern accent or something, and she asked me, where's the trail where you can see birds? And I was trying to, you know, and I was like, okay,
And you know.
Ford Trail, we've got Peace Park. And then finally it dawned on me, the wetlands boardwalk. And she goes, yes, that's it. Where is it?
Mhm.
Okay,
And during that conference, it really hit on the high dollar value of those specific tourists and that they're a good one to reach after.
Tap into.
yes.
But you
So-
tell us if it is approved here, goes on to city council, you tell us where you want us to land, but,
Well, and I was just gonna ask you, feeding back, do you need anything more from this group beyond this discussion for you to move forward with going to council?
I think the procedure is you then present it.
We make a
to Bobby,
resolution.
So we'll make a,
Council
yeah, okay,
and.
So, yeah, I think that this next step would be for you to formally make a proposal for the city manager to take this to city council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I move that we make a proposal to approve the moving forward the Bird City yacht.
Second.
okay, all in favor?
In favor?
Yeah,
Aye.
I think the language is in the sample language is in that bird document, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I put it's a sample that Bird City, Oregon gave us for a resolution. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Just turn it over to them.
Yeah. great,
That's thumbs up from Dan Sterling over there.
yeah,
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
great.
okay, it's
So it's
unanimous.
yours now, Bob.
Okay,
Thank you, guys.
all right.
Okay.
Thank you, Catherine,
Thanks, Kat.
and Jim too, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Thanks for your patience. too.
I think it'd be fun.
yeah.
Yeah, great.
I love
Okay.
it. It's on my plate. Oh.
Let's melt all our meetings together.
Yeah, one big city meeting.
Did anyone on this group want to be,
Democracy.
Does anyone on the,
No, I was just gonna ask, is there anyone from the chamber the visitor center that's murdered? Interested in taking Alex, it's gonna be the visitor center that's gonna be like Porticon.
Well, Nicole went to our initial meeting. And so I'm not sure if there'll be more people from, the actual visitor center, not just Nicole, but she was there.
how many
She was super
people?
excited. Super excited. And, but yeah, we would like, if one of you.
is anyone here wanting? Oh, okay.
I have heard Nicole talk about it.
If no one else wants it, I'll do it, but I will not be able to make the July meeting.
Oh, I didn't know it was in July, so anyway.
Is that in your documents? It's I think Jim proposed the second Tuesday of July,
Okay.
blah,
whatever.
blah, blah, every 3 months, and
But
I
you'll-
will be out of town, but I can be the representative for this group, for our commission.
Nice,
Okay,
nice. Thank you. But you've been on.
Yes.
okay. All right, well, let's see, as far as the rest of our meeting today, what I want to suggest is that we, given our time and the depth of discussion, leaves plenty of time for our PCC guidelines discussion today, and just touch on item number 3, the wetlands boardwalk, and then move number 4, noxious weed policy on to the July meeting. So that's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
So as far as number 3, the wetlands boardwalk signage project, we did form our subcommittee last meeting of Adam, John, and myself. And hey, they, Adam and John were able to meet on Friday, yes?
Yes.
Yes. So to start off that process, so how did that go?
Ed? I got a bunch of notes to go over.
Okay,
I think one of the prevailing things we kind of realized is we have these trail maps behind the commons. And that's it. There are basically 6 entrances into the park, but if you don't come in from that direction, you're not getting a trail map. And if we're gonna have these trail maps, we kind of walked around the whole park and it's like, well, why don't we just have trail maps everywhere? The little handheld ones.
Yeah.
Not an actual.
On the post. On the
Yeah.
block that it-
yeah, where you have the little
That's fine.
thing
Yeah.
and you take the,
You
yeah,
just take one out.
Right. I mean, why just have it in one spot where probably a lot of people do enter here, but a lot of people enter from the other places too. And
yeah, and that's part of the beauty of that park, in my opinion, there's
Yeah.
multiple entrances.
So then you would need to have signage park entrance signage of some kind at each one of those.
Well, there's, it is,
With,
The little yachts trail.
they're already there.
Yeah.
yeah, it's, there, some of them are subtle, but there is signage.
Well, that kind of comes back to the other topic, which I don't want to go into now, but that all of the signage that we're doing has some kind of common theme. The stuff at Prospect, the stuff in the wetlands, so that anyone who's wandering around town gets used to seeing whatever that logo.
Well, there is that, that little,
Yeah.
small
Yeah.
sign.
Maybe we
Yeah.
make something a little more.
Yeah.
So any other comments from the field trip?
Well, one of the challenges I think that the park faces is what were we standing on Fourth Street and that couple that walked by and
Yeah.
they're tourists and they were walking by with their kids and I said, hey, do you know there's they were going to the playground and I go, do you know there's a boardwalk and a park right through here, right when we were standing?
Yeah.
They go, no, we had no idea.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I've come down here for years where people that I stayed with, that never knew that park existed. It's, I don't know how you identify it, but I just don't think a lot of people that even come here unless they go looking.
mhm,
I think you're spot on with that.
yeah,
And one thing that is been identified in the fair design plans also is wayfinding.
yeah.
And some more information
Right.
signs, like larger scope. And the entries of all those different points.
So you're gonna have some kind of holder for these trail markers.
Yeah.
So whatever post is holding that holder, could certainly, even if it just had a small wetlands park, people walking by would go, oh, there's the wetlands.
Yes.
There after we're done and just show
Yeah.
you.
That's kind of what I was getting at, Dan, was some kind of a trail marker at all the entrances where the brochures would be available.
Yeah.
Right.
But something that's a little more noticeable than what we have right now.
Yeah.
The other issue, I think the big one was the kiosks.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time, there's a kiosk back here. And I've been here for years. Nobody looks at it.
right.
I mean, it was, it was a great idea. I don't know, we have some thoughts as to why it's not used and maybe what we were kind of, after some discussion and Joanne chimed in because she happened to be walking around at the same time.
Mhm.
Maybe we take those signs that are under that little kiosk and put them out in front of the trail over here. And block also at the same time, there's like an electrical box, the really, really attractive electrical box.
Yes, yes.
We could block that with two of these sign, the more typical sign that's like angled, so you're kind of looking down. So we could shield that and presumably get more people to actually notice those. I honestly didn't know there were two signs on the back of that kiosk until we did the walkthrough. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
Is there a cover on it?
it's a covered kiosk.
It would be helpful if it was covered, because if it's raining, people
Yeah.
can still stand there and look at it.
Yeah, but they don't.
Yeah, no, I mean, in addition to the
Yeah.
other
Yeah,
changes.
yeah.
I think that's.
Give you a list,
They just didn't go sign.
Yeah.
Get more. Stop it.
Yeah, nobody stops there. It's a little off of the path into the
We didn't know.
There's
wetland.
not really a platform on the ground.
There's a cement.
Well, actually,
pad.
there is a
There's a
little bit
pad.
of a- it's just, it's,
And the other thing, these are what's in the visitor center.
right.
But the one that was there, there was only one brochure that was at the, at the post there, and that was
A different
old,
one.
that was like real old, it was the picture when the park was first.
It was older. I thought we had a newer one.
Well, there's nothing growing up around, and I go, that's, people looked at that and then walked into it, they wouldn't, it's totally different now, because obviously 20 years later, the growth is taking place, so.
So there weren't any of these new brochures out there
Older-
yet?
It's only one,
Okay.
and it was an older one.
I thought it was older when I looked at it,
And
but
that picture's really beautiful, like when cause you showed, the picture showed 3 ponds in there.
right.
And 2 of them have
Gone.
since.
Well, what I'm thinking is, just one moment, what I'm thinking is that we get the subcommittee out again, and I'll run some dates by, or if you guys have a
Okay.
thought, even maybe this Friday afternoon, just throw it out there. And then we can kind of keep this process going in real time.
Yeah, although I have a whole bunch of other notes, but I don't know if we want to.
Yeah, I don't think we have the time to
Okay.
go in them. We had a final question or comment out here in the audience. Yeah.
Parks and Commons. I can make that was, yeah,
Oh, I think so, yeah.
but, no one does. I think that we could take that, yes, it has spring, look and put another bench there. People can sit, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and there is a bench there now.
Of the true signs that, sold by Wally and Bob, the trail, it's the same, you know, keep the consistency, the same type of architecture framework.
Yeah.
And we had it in front of that record box. That it's really ugly in the entrance to the park. Not right where the wetlands is. And I think it would look, maybe we get more information out, it always updates that. To, for people to take, I'm not sure if that would be as useful as a kiosk. It would be.
Well, you could have, both could be.
Well,
Yeah.
only because
You're
you're right, it has changed.
Yeah.
And most people who would be interested in plans would not be the general public. It would be, you know, people really interested in wetland plants. And they have those type of details of all the list of plants that.
Okay.
So
Bob,
just
last-
Instead of a brochure, if this map were put on the sign at each entrance. So rather than have a takeaway brochure, it's just part of
For
this.
people who don't have a good sense of direction, I think it's nice once you're in the middle of the park to say, oh, I can go out to the 4th Street this way.
Yeah, Bob,
Yeah, it's a huge area, you know.
That's half the fun.
Sign that. That in the pocket park. Explicitly explains the presence of all those trails, so.
It does.
That's what the purpose of that sign is.
Yes.
I don't already exist unless people on the main trail know. Well, wetlands is there.
Where that's the assumption,
On the north end, on the pocket park.
Sunset Park North. But that's on the assumption that they go there first before they
right.
go to the wetlands.
Do we not think though, when the library is finished, that that's gonna be sort of main point up, probably be a major. That.
That'll be another entry point.
Yeah, we'll change it.
Build a nice trail through there. And-
Yeah.
Raised 24 feet above grade, and the steps gonna come out, it's a meager trail. That's the part.
But there won't be. Like, I think there'll be people that will, they're walking down 7th Library and
There's
those.
only 10 feet of space between the library and the fence, and there has to be a set of steps in there.
Yeah,
I guess we
See
can
your
take that
point.
call after that gets done.
yeah,
I think the, actually closer is the 6th Street entrance. It just needs to be identified as you said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They all need to be identified.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get together again soon. How's that sound?
Okay.
Okay? Okay.
Thanks, guys.
All
Good
right.
start.
Yeah, thank you very much. It is a great start. Okay, and then the last agenda item for today will be discussing our PCC guidelines. And I think we're getting close from my review of everything. And we were all handed out a half sheet here. So make sure we have.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think where we left off with, unless Gio, you had a particular thought in mind, I want to kind of honor that, but we had left off on the document, the draft.
Yeah.
Now mine just went offline. Well, I've got a paper copy. I've got a paper copy. So we're on the City of Yachats Parks and Commons Commission Guidelines Draft.
Okay.
That's a 2-page document that we've been working with that was, I think we left off under the collaboration and coordination, if I'm not mistaken, towards the bottom of the first
Yeah,
page.
no, it's on the second page.
Oh, well, the one I have is, Oh, this is an older version, so,
Looking at the draft up.
Yeah.
It looks pretty, even the word identity.
yeah. So starting under collaboration and coordination, is where I believe we had left off. So, before we jump in, was there, Gio, any place else? This was gonna take us.
Yes, but I do have.
Do you wanna-
So if we wanted to have, then there's one.
Okay, well, why don't we start with, yeah, the let's collaborate first.
Simple language to recognize work groups. The commission recognizes the benefit of volunteer work groups that work in collaboration with city staff to maintain and improve city parks, open spaces, and the commons facilities. The commission encourages the maintenance of these work groups and may request the creation of work groups to undertake specific projects. So I think this is why Bob was saying, kind of loops into what you were bringing up earlier. Specifically, commission, actually, it doesn't, it's the, it's in the advisory.
Can you read it one more time, George?
Did you not get it?
Oh, I have it. Oh, you're reading from that
This
short
one,
paper.
yeah,
Yeah,
this
I have that too. I thought you were reading a new statement. Sorry.
You know that one?
I do. Here it is. Yeah,
I feel like I have it.
I do.
So the commission
Okay.
recognizes the benefit of volunteer work groups that work in collaboration with city staff to maintain and improve city parks, open spaces, and the commons facilities. The commission encourages the maintenance of these work groups and may request the creation of work groups to undertake specific projects. The first part of that is recognizing the benefit of volunteer groups. I was thinking of the Trails Group, the long history and amazing sort of progress that group has undertaken in this community. So that's part of it. And now we're seeing more and more work groups. Bobby's probably got mixed feelings about that, but here we are. So that was just a part of trying to recognize and plugging it into this guideline.
So George, looking at this collaboration and coordination on this document,
The draft.
on the draft, and it's like the second item here, coordinate volunteer opportunities. I mean, there's a lot of overlap between what you're putting there,
I was
And-
thinking about replacing that one.
that line, okay?
with
Okay.
this one.
Because it's essentially saying the same thing, but you're getting the word work group in there a couple times to emphasize that.
And specifying that it's city parks, open spaces, and commons facilities. It's a little more specific.
Mhm.
Leaves trails out.
Um,
That's not our deal.
yeah, I just had a question on the word open spaces. We've been using that phrase, open spaces, and then we've been using community spaces. Would community spaces be more comprehensive instead of open,
Yeah,
or?
Yeah, I think so. Because you can have open space out here that is not a community space.
So if that works, just that one word change, then community spaces, okay?
And then we would put this in theoretically instead of the second bullet point under collaboration and coordination.
you got it.
Yeah,
Yes.
so,
That remains in there.
Mhm.
yeah, so is there any, let's just go through them bullet point by bullet point. Under collaboration and coordination, is there any issue with the way words collaborate with emergency preparedness on developing and sustaining the commons as an emergency shelter?
Fine, we're kind of doing that already.
Yeah. Okay, we're good on that one. Bullet point number 2 would be with one revision of community instead of open spaces, the language as Gio has put on the half sheet for bullet point number 2. Is there any
Community
issue?
spaces.
Any further follow-up on that, or are we good to go on that?
Yeah, good for me.
Okay, bullet point number 3, coordinate with other city commissions as needed. That's pretty straightforward and applies, so, okay. And then number 4, develop meeting agendas and materials in collaboration with city staff, also pretty
Kind
straightforward.
of doing that too already.
Okay, no issues there. Okay, so that's collaboration and coordination, done. Okay, and then lastly, as far as before we go back then under the advisory role, would be the civic campus master plan. There's 2 bullet points there. Number 1 is provide input and recommendations to implement the civic campus master plan. I think we've been doing that input.
By the time we approve this, that'll be done.
I know, I wonder if, I mean, this is a
No.
document that's,
It says if.
Okay, fair enough. Oh, good point.
and it's a long-term plan, so, okay, we're good there, yes, implement.
May I say something?
Yes, please do.
On the, under civic campus master plan, to me, that looks like a very temporal situation. And I don't know if it really belongs in the big picture for whatever PCC becomes, because we already are involved in helping to shape and plan and that kind of a thing, the entire community space, including the campus, including the commons. And I think this is so specific as to be unnecessary.
The question is it covered by something else in the document, I think, Dan?
And I think it
Yeah.
is.
Well, I mean, in a sense it is, because, I mean, it depends on how you want to interpret it, but, you know, if you look under program development, gather input on parks and commons issues and projects, promote the use of parks and the commons facilities, I guess even fostering partnerships. I think you could broadly say that those 2 bullets that are there right now, they would fall under those and probably some other provisions as well. It's only the specificity. It just seems like in a year or 2 years,
Yeah,
will those
It'll be obsolete.
relevant?
That body.
Chair recognizes Bobby.
I respectfully disagree, Dan. I think that it's important for it to be in there because this is a 25-year master plan.
That's what I was gonna say.
And that is long term.
Yeah.
And I really see this Parks and Commons Commission and the future iterations of Parks and Commons Commissions being the shepherd of this plan, ensuring that we didn't just waste $120,000 on this plan and that these things are seen through. That each year you're reviewing this plan and saying, what are we gonna request in this year's CIP budget? You're gonna utilize this document and say, we really think we should push these projects in this year's CIP. And so you're gonna use that as your tool for your budgeting and your CIP request, and then you're gonna make sure that it doesn't just sit on a shelf collecting dust in City Hall. You know, it's a really important thing. I think a really important aspect, I think, of your guys' work here is to be referring to that document throughout time now and into the future, 25 years. And it could go faster and it could go longer. But
Valid point.
yeah,
all commissions are, so the other 2 commissions that we have, they have master plans. Parks and our planning has the comprehensive master plan of the city they review and refer to. And the Public Works and Streets, they have a water and wastewater and storm drains master plan that they're constantly reviewing for review, what's their next priorities and projects. So I think it really navigates the work that you're gonna be doing as a commission.
yeah, and I would agree, given the length of the master plan, 25 years, that does shift it, in my opinion. Adam?
And as George pointed out, it's the word implement is in there as well as everything else. So implementing the plan that we end up with. But we did change the name of it to the Greater Commons.
Yes.
Right.
So we should change that in this document.
Instead of
Yeah.
civic campus.
Yeah.
Greater common.
Yeah.
Good.
So I see you as a steward to that plan.
Right.
Dan, did you have a follow-up comment after what Bobby said?
No, that makes a lot of sense to me. I can look at it very favorably when you kind of think about it as being a long-term plan. That does make sense.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
okay,
And
Thanks.
okay,
Thanks advocating, Bobby.
yeah,
Just noticed that there's this little last segment here that says community spaces. We just use that word to edit a collaboration thing. And it says library and Little Love Church. And the reason I wrote open spaces was because I was thinking about areas that aren't parks, aren't structure,
Yeah.
but that we might still be having purview over. I don't know that we do.
We don't
Could
know
we have-
those. Those are not under our jurisdiction.
well, I think these were just notes to remind
I
us
think
that
we
we
just
wanted to talk
scratch
about
those off.
those.
I thought they were, if I recall from several months ago, they were topics to discuss as to whether they should or shouldn't be under our purview, because if it's under ours,
Yeah.
not Public Works, whose would they be?
I know
They have-
this is kind of-
Yes, go ahead.
It's about
Okay.
the church in particular, yeah.
So this was like maybe something that we were brainstorming on whether this is the direction that some Commons wanted to go. Just because, what we should have the Commons and Parks and Commons, if you will, just like how my title changed from the Commons Coordinator to Community Spaces and Outreach. And so with Community Spaces, it doesn't just involve the Commons, and it also involves, the open fields, the wetlands, Little Log Church Museum, the library, and it's as a whole. And so with that, it would be nice to have an advisory committee that supports that role so that we can implement things more effectively and have more feedback surrounding the whole greater picture and not just the Commons or just some things. It's as a whole and a greater picture. I feel like it could be more effective that way.
And I'll piggyback on that a little bit. So as the Little Log Church comes online, that is a city department. It's a city operation. The library is a city operation. Right now, the library has a commission, so that can be taken off the plate. But when I put this note, there was a real question about where that was going to land, right? And if we need to pick it up, or if it needs to become a work group, or if it needs to be a community space, because we're, in some of these beginning conversations we've looked at, is Parks and Commons the name for this commission? Would it be community spaces? The community spaces commission. And in that, could it overlap some of the advice and advisory on behalf of the city? There is the Little Log Church Museum Friends Group. That's a friends group. It's a nonprofit. It's a separate group. They're wonderful to work with. But at the end of the day, it is a city building. It is a city department. It is a city operation. And that's how we're looking at it. Rosa's, she's going to be the administration person for that. She'll be working with the volunteers and scheduling much like Tracy does with the library. She's the main administration person there. She schedules and works with all of the volunteers and makes sure it's open to the public on a regular basis. She gets all of the things online and does all the training for all of the volunteers, ordering and things like that. That'll be part of Rosa's role with bringing the Little Log Church Museum online. Does it have to be in a commission? No, but it fits into the model of what we're doing as a whole for the city. So I think it's something to be considered, and that's really why it's here on this note. Is this notes more, not
Right, yeah.
like to make sure this conversation is part of this broader
Yeah,
ordinance.
it's the guidelines.
What do we think about Parks and Greater Commons Commission? As a title for us.
I don't think that Greater Commons pulls in some of the parks. It could be the Greater Commons commissions.
Yeah, because commons, the old fashioned definition of commons
Broad,
is used by the public. Yeah.
Greater Commons, as we've defined it, does not include parks that are outside of the Greater Commons. Peace Park,
Yeah,
Sunset Park South. Whereas if we are parks and Greater Commons, it encompasses everything we've.
So have we defined greater commons as this building and the surrounding land?
Yeah, basically
Yeah.
4th to 7th,
Okay.
and the ocean to one
I'll
oh
have
one.
to say, why do we do that?
Let's not put down there.
just to your point of the wording of the community, could it be both community spaces and open spaces?
Yeah, it was just, again, it's like, it could be, maintain and improve city parks and open spaces.
George, to your comment. You go back up to the very first section. It says these guidelines are designed to ensure that the Parks and Commons Commission effectively contributes to developing and maintaining Yachats parks, open spaces, and commons facilities, enhancing recreation opportunities and community engagement. So I think
Yeah,
I think we can have both, really,
that's what I'm suggesting, yeah.
but I think we should make it consistent through.
Yes, I think so too. Commons facilities, would that include the Love Church? Or the?
Not so far.
Yeah.
We haven't made that decision yet.
I think it could be community facilities.
It's not a common space. Rosa?
I just also wanted to add something about the library. Tracy does a great job with overseeing the volunteers and all of that. But when the library is up and running, there is gonna be a meeting room in there that is gonna be added onto our rental website so that that space can be utilized for as a venue and as a meeting space. And so that would be something that would also be added onto there. And I have been working with Tracy one-on-one on what that would look like as we open.
And then also, we're really gonna be pushing that with the Little Log Church Museum as a rental space, weddings, receptions, rehearsals, concerts, whatever, we're gonna be really pushing that,
Yeah.
reunions, whatever it can
Yeah.
be used for.
Just a question about that, though. We've been calling it for the library, a community room. And I was thinking more in terms of book clubs are gonna meet there and things like that. And I have a hard time asking them to pay for or rental for that.
Right, it could be like, we're gonna be thinking of pricing and what that would look like.
Okay.
It could be like room 3, like how we have for locals, if you're gonna be using the space for only 2 hours and it's for community. We don't charge for
Okay.
that, but if you're gonna be renting it for something else, then we'll have to charge you, but it could be like a sliding scale.
Okay, yeah, I think that's important, though, to have it
Absolutely.
available for the community.
Similar to the setup we have now with the pickleball, we don't charge pickleball, you don't make donations. So I
Right.
could see that.
But we kind of feel obligated to periodically donate.
We should.
Okay.
Wear and tear on our lines from the other groups is, that's another issue.
Tried so much. We've done those slides so many times, so don't even know what to do.
Is this perhaps suggested, so wherever this shows up in the document, it is defined as Yahat's parks, open spaces, community spaces, and commons facilities. Does that cover everything?
Yeah, one more.
I think it's important to differentiate between a community space and an open space, because they're not necessarily the same.
Yeah,
So
I'm
Yahat's
fine.
parks, open spaces, community spaces, and commons facilities.
I think that's pretty complete.
yeah.
It should work, yeah.
Until we create another space, I think it's complete enough for now. Yeah.
So back to the Little Log Church thing. If we don't have, so Tracy is a city employee, she manages the library. Rosa is a city employee, she manages the Commons and the Log Church. So why does the commission need to be involved in that? We're not involved in the library. So why would we need to be involved?
There is a library commission.
There's a commission
Well, there you go.
and an
Maybe the Little
advisory,
Log Church Commission.
the advisory part of that.
Why do we need another commission when this could be encompassing that?
Well, because it's a separate facility that has a bunch of different needs and a bunch of different parameters around it, I guess, if anything.
We're not talking about maintaining or managing these areas. We're just talking about advisory input on how they're developed, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing
Yeah.
now. We're doing advisory. Takes a lot of energy.
Yeah, providing input and recommendations as things are brought to us about what we think. Is the way I see it.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it does. There is the problem that the city council did strip the oversight of the Little Log Church from the Parks and Commons Commission some years ago. That would need to be addressed to actually have us take that on. But other than that, I don't have any options to including the Little Log Church in our purview as far as being a place where the public can come and ask for things about it, and we can keep our eye on it. The library, since it has its own commission, seems like it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
What about like the meeting space itself? It is like when it becomes part of like a rental? That's the only part, no? Okay.
No.
Okay.
So should we get to George's other comment?
Yeah.
Just one quick question. Is it officially called the Little Log Church Museum?
Museum, that's what I was about to say, yeah.
Yes.
That's the part that, it's not a church anymore, it's a
Little
museum.
Log Museum,
Little Log Church,
Museum.
Church Museum,
Little Log Church Museum.
LLCM, I've seen it abbreviated as.
Joanne.
32nd point of history, originally in the late 80s. It was the Parks and Museum Commission. Then it became the Parks and Commons Commission with the museum included but not named. And then the museum was taken out in the mid-90s. And they became a 501c4. And then in the Shannon Beauclair administration, it was thrown back to the commission with much feedback, to put it positively, and then it went away. Okay, that's just what happened.
Be back.
A lot of change, a lot of change.
No,
The brain.
it's a bastard child. Like our city man who became less of a bastard child. I think it's a 501c3 now, and a 501c4. I don't know why. And 501, well, one of those. And so it's, the question came up, should it be a commission? I don't know. But it does have a 501c3 designation, that means it's operating independently.
It still does.
Yeah, the guts of
About
it.
the Little Log Church Museum.
But just like, with the library, there's a commission and 501c3 friends.
I see.
Yeah, and the whole question, and I think it's something for the city to negotiate with the 501c3 group, do you need a commission? Yeah, but
It's a good, really good background.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you for showing up, Bobby.
yeah.
Very much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, final wrap up, popping back to the advisory role. Gio, is this bullet point on the half sheet? Just take us through what is that all of them?
It's an addition to the advisory role. And so if you look at the very first one draft, it says the commission serves as an advisory body to the city council and staff on matters affecting city parks, open space and commons facilities. It provides input and recommendations for the important part, developing and maintaining these facilities and reports any major needs or safety issues to city staff. So my suggestion is that we strip the developing part out of that section so that section is only referring to maintenance. And we add a very similar statement that has to do very much with implementing the master plan. The commission serves as a review and advisory body to the city council and staff on improvement, remodel, and addition projects affecting city parks, community spaces, and the commons facilities. Commission duties may include proposing projects, gathering public and user group input, defining project criteria, reviewing all stages of design plans, reviewing project budgets, receiving updates from associated work groups, and recommending to the city council and staff preferred development. So it's a way to implement the master plan or anything else that comes up. It specifically outlines our duties, which is absent currently, and makes it clear that we're an advisory body. But it also makes it clear that we're, like we propose projects, and when we're not going to go into my how to get projects done thing, but I was concerned about the long arc of projects here. So you've got from initiation, when the idea like, hey, we need some stairs, to carrying out the stairs. And so I went on a little bit of a discovery to find out how's the city getting this stuff done now. And what I found out is that the city has engineers on staff that they can hire to come see projects that are in process. That's good news. We got people to oversee the budget side. What's missing is this front side, this gathering public input, setting criteria, setting the projects up on good footing. So this is meant to address sort of the beginning part of projects. Then they're kind of out of our hands at that point because they move into the implementation phase, which is city administrative project, not the commission project.
George, required T, your paragraph would replace all those bullet points, correct?
No.
No.
No, it just adds one and
Replaces half of the first one, basically.
Okay, just replace the first one.
Isn't that right, Dan?
doesn't replace the first one either.
No, it just takes out the word,
Developing.
Yes.
so for maintaining these facilities.
The sake of time,
Yeah,
is it possible that we take this and marinate on it and really
Absolutely.
think about it and
Yeah.
sleep on it
That's the whole.
and bring it back for
Yeah.
discussion for next one? Okay,
Absolutely.
perfect.
We're actually really close, guys.
Really
Yep.
good job.
yeah, we really are. It's a lot of great work. So then to wrap it up for today, I think we've done all of our updates that we need to as far as Civic Master Plan Advisory. Were there any other updates from any other groups by the commission?
Just a reminder, I had asked that we all come up with a noxious weed kind of bullet points to discuss for policy, and I know we're not doing that this year, but just if you haven't done it, try and do that for whenever we are gonna get to the noxious weeds.
Yeah.
I've got, no, it's a good.
Yeah, good. No, I've got my bullet points, but that's fine.
And the bullet points were just regarding the policy and as we're looking at it and,
Yeah, well, if we're gonna define it,
yeah,
Basically, then do your homework and
Yeah.
come in with ideas.
yeah.
yeah, kind of like what we did for the start of this discussion. Yep, perfect. And I'll add that to the email before the meeting to remind everybody on that. Yeah, okay. All right, meeting adjourned.
Thank you. Bobby, thank you, and I'll let you go.
Yeah.
I noticed.
Yeah, Dan, God, thank you.
Undergrounding the power lines on Ocean View Drive? All of Ocean View or?
First three poles. Good try.
Keep pushing.
It's a recording off, is the recording off?
Not a big fan.
See, I can't tell. What am I looking for?
Okay.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm covering all the bases.
My area.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah, really, I mean, I like. the-
Yeah,
So there.
looked up and saw Underground Pub, I'm like, oh.
I'll get all that out of you with
It was.
I was.